Thank you for tuning into another episode of Morgan's Call. My name is Morgan, and today we're going to talk about trials and temptations. I'm actually just going to be reading from James' first chapter, and this is from the New the New International Version, also known as the NIV. James, a servant of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ, to the 12 tribes scattered among the nations, greetings. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its works, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. That person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Such a person is double-minded and unstable in all they do. Believers in humble circumstances ought to take pride in their high position, but the rich should take pride in their humiliation, since they will pass away like a wildflower. For the sun rises with scorching heat and withers the plant. Its blossoms falls, and its beauty is destroyed. In the same way, the rich will fade away, even while they go about their business. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. When tempted, no one should say, God is tempting me, for God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone. But each person is tempted when they are dragged away by their own evil desire and enticed. Then, after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, gives birth to death. Don't be deceived, my brothers and sisters. Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. He chose to give us birth through the word of truth, that we might be a kind of first fruits of all he created. So I read all that. I consider it, just summarizing it for you quickly. James here is addressing the tribes, and basically he's saying that consider it joy when you're faced with a trial, because when you have a trial, you're going to get something better from it, if that makes sense. It's testing of your faith. So, despite the difficulty, you're still end up achieving something at the end of the day. So basically, count all your trials as joy. That's what I got from 2 and 3. And basically 5 is saying, so when you persevered through something, you finished it, it's going to make you better off for it, because you're going to be more mature that the task is complete. And you won't be lacking anything. If you feel like you lack the wisdom, then you should ask God for it, and He will basically give it to you without finding fault in you. So don't be afraid to ask God if you feel tempted and you're having issues or you're having trials. Talk to Him. He's there to listen. Okay? And then when you go on to verse 6, it says again, but when you ask, you must believe and not doubt. So if you're coming to God in a prayer, or you're coming to Him about a situation, a conversation, wanting help from Him, don't ask Him like, God, could you please, I just don't, if you could possibly, no, you need to speak it, power into it, knowing that when you ask Him, if it's His will, He's going to give it to you. And not knowing that it's going to be something that He's not going to do for you, per se. So I like that part as well. Number 9 says, believers in humble circumstances ought to take pride in their high positions. So that, I mean, that's kind of self-explanatory. You're a believer. You believe without a shadow of a doubt. Be proud of that, but still remain humble at the same time. Because you don't want to get cocky with taking pride in what you believe in. I guess for me, when I listen to this passage, it kind of reminds me of, I guess, the bad reputation that a lot of people who attend church get oftentimes, that we don't make mistakes, or that we're perfect, or we think we're better than X, Y, and Z person. And I know that in the past I've been to some places, some churches, and people have made me feel a certain kind of way because they felt like they were better than me in their spiritual walk, per se. But that's not what this is saying. It's saying take pride in it, but be humble at the same time. You want to make yourself on the same level. Don't feel like you're above anyone. So I thought that part was interesting as well. And then 10, it goes on to say, the rich should take pride. But the rich should take pride in their humiliation, since they will pass away like a wildflower. And I guess, to me, what I got from that is, they're not, I don't know. That was interesting. I don't know. For me, I guess I was just like, I don't really know what to think of that. I guess the big point with that is, I think about it like dandelions or anything else. People typically don't mind. I mean, they mind dandelions. They grow up anywhere. You don't really take a lot of care for them. They just grow. They're like another weed. But when you think of like tulips and lilies and roses and stuff, people typically take out time to water those, fertilize those, make sure they get the proper care. So, in this sense, I don't know. I felt like, since they'll pass away anyways, it's just like, it's, I think about it as only what you do for God will last. And actually, well, I guess we'll talk about that in another verse, because it does talk about the rich will have a hard time passing through heaven. I think it's like a needle in a camel's eye, something to that effect. But I'll go and get into that one day as well. And then 11, it goes on and says, for the sun rises with scorching heat and withers the plant. Its blossoms fall, and the beauty is destroyed. So, it's still talking about the rich there. Basically, their beauty is kind of just temporary, and it goes away. In the same way, the rich will fade away, even while they go about their business. So, yeah, like that. 12 is a really cool one as well. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive a crown of life that the Lord has promised for those who love Him. So, that's self-explanatory there. If you love God, you believe in Him, and you're practicing correctly, you can expect a crown per that verse. When tempted, no one should say, 13, I love 13 because oftentimes you hear people, God is tempting me. It's very clear. 13 says, when tempted, no one should say, God is tempting me. For God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone. But each person is tempted when they are dragged away by their own evil desire and entices. So when I think of that, I think of being in a situation um, that ordinarily is not a good situation for you to be in. And I guess just use this as an example. Let's see. Okay, so this is just an example, and it's not. I'm not judging anyone. Um, we'll say. We'll say, for example, a club, an underground club. There's no licensing there. There's no rules per se, and things are happening that you don't do. Okay, you don't do any of these things that are happening there, and you decide to go ahead and like maybe they're, I don't know, maybe they're beating someone up or something, and they're saying they're encouraging you to beat someone up, and you feel like God is tempting you. God is not tempting you because you dragged yourself into that. You were enticed by evil, and like I'm not calling that kind of club evil per se, but you were tempted by your desire. You desired to go there, and because of that, um, it could potentially give birth to a sin. That's what I got from 14, because it says, no, that's what I got. Yeah, that's what I got from 14. And then 15 it says, then after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, gives birth to death. So we all know that we're gonna die because of ultimate sin. But yeah, that's what I got from that. So yeah. Then 16, I love 16 as well. Why I love the rest of this passage, it says, don't be deceived, my dear brothers and sisters. Then 17, every good and perfect gift is from above. That's simple. Everything good and perfect comes from God, basically. Coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. Um, I think of that in the sense of kind of magic. Magic is a trick of the eye. It's an illusion. You may see a person on the stage as one person, and you see some dust or smoke cloud go up. They go from left side of the stage to the right side of the stage. That's what I kind of got from shifting lights. And then it says 8. He chose to give us birth through the word of truth, that we might be a kind of first fruits of all he created. So yeah, so he birthed us through the word of truth, that we might be a kind of first fruits of all he created. So I like this. I just like this whole thing. Once again, you can go back and read it yourself. It was James 1, uh, verses 1 through 18. And to summarize it, the things I got, hopefully you can take away. James was speaking to the tribes. He was letting you know you should be ecstatic and excited, basically, when you're faced with trials, because you're going to grow from them. If your faith is strong enough, you're going to grow from them. You're going to move to the next step in your life in that aspect. um 4, God is not going to um, God is not going to tempt you. So we can stop saying that. And how do I have proof? I have proof because you can go back to James 1, and the verse is 13. When tempted, no one should say, God is tempting me, for God cannot be tempted by evil. So if you quote unquote feel that you are tempted, the things that are happening, the reasons you're being tempted is because you're putting yourself in situations um, that God did not ask you to go into. And their situations or desire of your heart. It gave you a little adrenaline doing this thing, that thing, or the other, and because you're tempted by it, you decide to do it. And when you do it, the result of it, the result of the evil action was it birthed sin, and from sin, eventually grow into death. So I thought this passage was awesome. It's just talking about trials and temptations. Hopefully, you learned something today. Um, I know my comments are cut off. I apologize for that. But hopefully, you're able to give a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Um, Subscribe, and I'll talk to you next time. Thank you for listening to Morgan's Call. May God bless you. May God keep you. May He continue to smile upon you. May you guys also have everything in your life that you need in this season. Know that this is only a trial, and we're going to get better because of this. We're going to get better because of this. I'm praying that your finances are better. So if this thing comes back, if the COVID comes back, it's no longer 19, maybe it turns into 20 or 22, 20 or 21, should I say. I pray that your finances become better because of this. I pray that you learn how to grow your own garden by then. I pray you have livestock. Maybe you have some money set aside. So the next time a situation like this happens, potentially you'll be better prepared for it. Those are my prayers for you. Hopefully you got a good message from this today. I love you. God bless you. And thanks again for listening. Take care. Bye.